Hey, by the way, tonight's game, New York wins that outright.
You know he's on top. Million subs, he never gonna flop. Out of Chicago, where the streets don't sleep. Betting on games, making cash real deep. Crystal ball for sports, he knows the lines. He's a sports aficionado, the money he finds. From football to basketball, he's always on point. Predicting winners never disappoints. He's got that hustle, that Chicago vibe. Making moves on the streets, cash on the side. With E, you know it's always a bet. He's the king of the game, never forget.
Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports Show for July 29th. How is everyone doing? My name is Eric. I'm the man behind Etoft21sports. Loaded episode for you today. My boy Reed is going to come on and we are going to talk a little NFC North, team by team, share what bets we like, dive into fantasy, all that jazz. But before we get into all that, I'd like to say thank you to the sponsor of the show, JustOutTennis.store. Go to JustOutTennis.store, use promo code ETOFT21. That way they know old Uncle Rico sent you. And ProphetX, guys, peer-to-peer betting is the future of the sports betting industry. Go to the App Store, download ProphetX. That way they know old Uncle Rico sent you using promo code ETOFT21. Now, without further ado, let's welcome this week's special guest, the man that the hit film Varsity Blues is loosely based on, my boy Reed. Reed, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Dude, no complaints, dude. You know, Brewers are winning, dude. Tigers,
yeah, that's good.
You know, I just living the dream right now, man. Just living the dream, dude. How about you, dude?
Yeah, well, the Cubs cut it to 6, so like slightly better than before.
They chopped it down to 6. You know, I only had one bet in the old MLB, and you know, Pirates first 5 just kicking off right now, man. Just kicking off right now. But how you been, dude? It's been a minute, man.
Yeah, I've been good. I was able to not quit watching football after last season, so been watching the Bears. So we're back again, and yeah, I'm excited to do this.
Now you're a Bears fan. We're gonna jump into the Bears, but I never got your thought on the whole Ben Johnson hiring. Talk to me about Ben Johnson, dude. Like, what was your thought when they hired him?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of like everyone's top guy, but it's really kind of out of the blue. I felt like for the Bears to go after someone like that, they never go really for the A candidate. They've never really spent on a head coach before. I think I came on your show, before they hired Eberflus, and that was kind of a more traditional Bears hire. So yeah, I mean, it was really. I love the hire, obviously. I think he's great. You saw what he did for your Lions, obviously. Obviously, they have the personnel to do it, but kind of everything, you listen to him speak, he just sounds smarter than the last guy. That's, kind of maybe in layman's terms, but just how I see it. But yeah, I'm really excited for him. I think he'll get us on the right track, somewhat. We'll see how much. But yeah, I think Ben Johnson was a great hire, and I'm excited for the year.
Now, let's jump into your Chicago Bears. Super Bowl 41 plus 4,100 to win the NFC, plus 1,800 to win the North, plus 500 over under 8.5 to make the playoffs, plus 160 to miss the playoffs, minus 195. Thoughts on the Chicago Bears, my friend?
Yeah, so obviously last year was an absolute disaster. And I don't think this year will be worse. That's for sure. But we'll see. Obviously I just kind of talked about, they brought in Ben Johnson. They made the, big signings in free agency where they went and traded for Joe Thuney from Kansas City, signed Dahlman from Atlanta, who's a good quality center, and picked up Jonah Jackson, who was with Ben Johnson in Detroit. He's a solid guard. I think people maybe overhyped it a little, but he's solid. And yeah, so, they obviously addressed the offensive line. They drafted Colson Loveland first round, added another receiver, Luther Burden, in the second round. Yeah, I'm excited for them this year. They really seem to be prioritizing the offense, but obviously, kind of before we talk about anyone else, kind of all comes down to Caleb Williams. Obviously, people were very excited for him last year, and I think still excited to see what he does this year. I think his rookie season was poor to say the least, but I think it was sometimes overblown, I'd say. But anyway, I'm optimistic this year he improves. How much, I don't totally know. It is basically like he's got to relearn an offense. So that's never easy when, you have a rough rookie year and then your second year where people are expecting you to make a jump. You're still kind of learning and getting used to a new offense. So we'll see. One concerning thing last year was his deep ball accuracy. It was atrocious. In the league last year, out of 34 quarterbacks, here's some stats for you. On balls 20 plus yards down the field, he was 32nd in accuracy, 30th in completion percentage, and 33rd in yards per attempt. So not getting a lot of production out of the deep ball, which Ben Johnson in Detroit definitely liked to utilize with his fast guys. We kind of drafted Luther Bird, and it felt like to replace Jameson Williams and all of that. But I will say, I do think this year, there's an embarrassment of riches on the offense again. And this time there's finally some help on the offensive line. I think the O-line will be improved. I think the coaching staff too, really you're going from one of probably the worst coaching staff in the NFL last year to at least something that's pretty competent. Seems like Ben Johnson holds people accountable. And I just think that's that translates to at least a few more wins a year, just being a more competent football team, not, having just a dope at a head coach. And so, yeah, I'm excited for the Bears this year. Yeah. I'm excited for the Bears this year, but we'll see.
All right, let's talk about this buzz around Hallis Hall. Ben Johnson is here. Bears fans are losing their mind. Look, it's easy to get excited. This is the best offensive mind that Chicago has had in decades, maybe ever. The question is, does he have the personnel to make it work? Let's start what we know about the Johnson offense. Creative, unpredictable, aggressive. He's great at doing what defense don't expect, running on a passing down, passing on running downs. In Detroit, he had a split backfield approach, kept defenses guessing on every snap. He made Jared Goff look like a franchise quarterback and led one of the NFL's most efficient offense. Lions were top 5 in yards per play under him. But the question is, do the Bears have the pieces to run the same offense? Offensive line, night and day. Let's start with the trenches. Braxton Jones is back at left tackle. Left guard, they went out and signed Joe Thuney. One of the best guards in football, Drew Dalman from the Falcons, who was a top 3 center last year as a center. Right guard, you mentioned Jonah Jackson. Struggled with the Rams, but was a stud under Johnson in Detroit. And Darnell Wright at right tackle, who is going to need to take that extra step.
Would agree.
Group is going to be better. And that's huge because you mentioned Caleb Williams, still a work in progress. And let's not sugarcoat it. Took a ton of sacks last season, and early reports from camp haven't been exactly glowing. Ben Johnson is already reworking his mechanics, fixing his footwork, adjusting shoulder alignment, trying to get him to speed up the process. The big shift, he'll be under center more, working within a rhythmic passing game, lots of timing routes, quick reads, first read throws. This is what Johnson wants, quick, decisive decision-making with receivers getting to their spots and the ball already in the air. A lot of trust in the system, and Williams is adapting. My concern, I'm not sure the scheme is the best fit for Caleb. Everything Johnson wants has timing base. Caleb's strengths are creativity, extending plays, making throws to the outside. That's not this offense. You know what I mean? Is Caleb Williams going to adapt, or is Ben Johnson going to adapt? Or is it going to be in the middle somewhere? Wide receiver room, who's the St. Brown? We got DJ Moore, who had a great season last year, but it was a down year. Is he going to play the slot? They drafted Luther Burden from Missouri. He got kicked off the field today by Ben Johnson because
That was overblown.
Dude, I'm just saying what
took him out for a play.
I'm just telling you what I read on Twitter, dude. That's where I get all my news.
Oh my God.
Roma Duze, he has size and explosiveness. Tight end, you got Komet, you got Loveland. Stacked. But here's the catch. I don't know who's playing the slot yet. And in the Ben Johnson offense, that's what you want. You want the slot wide receiver. He's everything. We saw how much St. Brown got in Detroit. But is it going to be Moore? Is it going to be Burden? Is it going to be Aduze? Who is playing the slot? Because that's the wide receiver I want in fantasy. Antoine Randall L., phenomenal wide receiver coach, followed Ben Johnson here. he is going to be in charge of developing these young wide receivers and try to keep DJ Moore on point. One player I like here is DeAndre Swift. Okay. There were whispers that he and Johnson didn't exactly see eye to eye in Detroit, but when you look at the numbers in Johnson's first 4-year call-in plays, he averaged 5.5 yards per carry, but got hurt. That efficiency was there. And now he's the lead back in a run-heavy scheme. Even if he sniffs goal line touches, he's easily going to be a top 10 fantasy back. And look, dude, I'm taking a shot. My first bet here, and you're going to like this one, Reed. DeAndre Swift, over 999.5 yards plus 200.
Okay.
I absolutely love that value. They didn't trade up for Gentry. They waited and grabbed McConnelly late, and they still have Rashawn Johnson, who's not an every down back. Swift's the guy. He's going to be the lead guy. Johnson's scheme, motion, formation swaps, split zone runs. Yep. Offense is going to lean heavy on it, create diffusion, get Caleb comfortable. I absolutely love everything that this is going to do for DeAndre Swift, and we're going to see why he was a second-round pick. The main thing is, can Ben Johnson handle the room? You know what I mean? Before he was an OC coach. Now he's a head coach. There's been plenty of these quote-unquote offensive geniuses that have struggled when they've been given keys to the building. Can't imagine all the personalities. I saw a picture of him, dude. It looks like he's aged 10 years since he took the job. That's the $1 million question. Defense, you got Dennis Allen, and it's going to be nasty. That's a big time hire. Big time hire. Rushes 4, drops 7, mix in looks, lets the pressure build. He's going to blitz a ton, but when he does, it's going to come from everywhere. They brought in my boy Grady Jarrett from the Falcons. Yep. Billings is back. Turner, drafted him a second rounder. Dexter, young guys who can rotate in, create problems. Secondary, Allen's never had this much talent.
Yeah.
Expect more man-to-man, more confusion pre-snap.
Keep an eye on Kyler Gordon this year. Yeah. They're going to use him a ton of different ways.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah. I think there's going to be more confusion pre-snap, better run fits with the 2 linebacker setup. End of the day, this is the best offensive coach the Bears have ever had. The best offensive line they've had in years. Wide receiver room is talented, but a little bit of a question marks. Yeah. Defense is going to be better. All that matters is, does Caleb take the leap?
Yep.
Now,
all that matters.
Well, dude, I'm being serious. You know, what I mean?
Serious.
Like, everything. Like literally, like when you look at everything they have,
and
all that matters is Caleb Williams. And you and I both live in the area, dude. I mean, Bears are winning the Super Bowl from everyone Arkansas.
I mean,
around here, Bears are winning the fucking Super Bowl.
And I mean, if like being realistic with like Caleb this year, like I don't think it's like he's gonna be an MVP candidate this year. And like I think like that's kind of an outlandish thing to think based on where he was last year. But like I think you could see some serious strides. I don't think like 4,000 yards is like a crazy thing. Like if he's able to pick up this system, and I hope Ben Johnson isn't plugging, and I don't think he is. You know, he's said, I'm on Twitter too. He said, you know, we're building this for Caleb. You know, he said we're building this for Caleb. And so, you know, I think they will meet somewhere in the middle. But yeah, I do agree like that. The timing and everything, like that's one thing, you know, Caleb, he's got to have that. And, you know, he does like to throw over the middle. And that's why, you know, the one thing that I thought was really smart in free agency was they went in the first 3 positions they addressed was guard, center. When you've got a little shorter quarterback, you need kind of that front, the middle 3 protected better than the outsides. Because if he can't see over the middle 3 or he's getting pressure immediately, he's going to have to scramble like he did last year, and that obviously was not working. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos. Another thing. So, you mentioned the interior, and that's what Ben Johnson is always hyped. And he went out. They got Tune. They got Dolman. They obviously addressed the interior of the offensive line. I really think that DeAndre Swift is the one guy you can go ahead and target here in terms of fantasy production. Him to have over 2,000 yards, I think, is a phenomenal bet. And him to have 1,000 yards, excuse me.
Yep.
They didn't go out and get anybody. You know what I mean? Like, I was really
Yeah.
waiting for them to go out and do something.
Oh, running back, yeah. I mean, I don't think like Monin guy, the 7th round pick's going to be anything. But yeah, and I will say, one other guy I do kind of like in fantasy, and maybe as a flyer, like a later round that could pop is a Dunze. I think Johnson's kind of raved about him, and reports are that he's seen the majority of the balls. They've been giving DJ more running back snaps, which tells me that they kind of see a Dunze as the number one guy. So I wouldn't be totally shocked if he kind of if he pops this year. In a late round flyer, draft Colston Loveland. He's been running with the ones all camp. He's apparently dominating. I think he, like if he is anything like Laporta's rookie year, who knows? Maybe he's a good late round tight end. So those are kind of my tidbits about the Bears. But yeah, and then agreed the defense with Dennis Allen. I didn't even get to that in the opening, but yeah, I think they'll be great. Linebacker could be a little better. I like Edwards. Edmonds, I'm a little iffy on, but it is a good saying.
You mentioned Loveland. That's another thing. They're not going to draft him where they
not use him.
And not use him.
Yeah.
Full transparency, I did have Bears draft a tight end plus 500. One of my draft day hits. Fucking loved it. And I don't think Clement is the guy. I've never been a big Cole Clement guy, but
no, I think and Loveland does what Johnson wants way better. Like running those like deep crossers and stuff. Clement, once he catches the ball, is kind of, just sits down pretty much. He's not a yak threat.
Now let's shift our attention over to the Green Bay Packers. Packers plus 2,100 to win the Super Bowl, plus 1,050 to win the NFC, plus 260 to win the North, over under 9.5 wins to make the playoffs, minus 135 to miss the playoffs, plus 110. What say you about the rivals to the North, my friend?
All right. This one's going to kind of pain me to talk about. So I like the Packers, and I like them kind of for one big reason, and it's continuity. They have a lot of continuity from last year. They've brought a lot of their offense back. They had one departure on the O-line. They lost a center, Myers, but they're going to move Jenkins there, and then they immediately signed Banks, who is one of the top guards from San Francisco. So they've shored up the offensive line. They're bringing the 4 receivers back: Wicks, Dobbs, Reed, and Watson's coming back from the ACL, so we'll see about him. But they drafted Golden to kind of replace him. And as a Texas guy, I think Golden's a stud. So I thought that was a good draft pick. He's going to be one of the better receivers in that room, I think, right away. If he can pick up the offense and everything. And obviously, I like LaFleur as a coach and play caller. And Jordan Love, I don't think is he an elite quarterback? No, but I do think last year he played a lot of. He got hurt early on in the year. And I think that kind of threw off his entire season. I think he's better than he played last year. And so, I kind of like Green Bay on the offensive side of the ball, bringing Jacobs back. And, he had a good year last year. But even if he goes down, he's getting on, even if he goes down, I kind of like their backup, Marshawn Lloyd. He got hurt early last year, but I like him. So I think they have good depth on offense. Obviously, they have Kraft, tight end, and Musgrave. So they've just got a lot of players. They don't have a lot of holes. And defensively, kind of same thing. I think their corners are a little weak, but like defensively, their front seven's all first-round picks, other than Cooper, who's a second-round pick. So they have a lot of talent on the defensive side. It's going to be Hafley in his second year. He did a good job last year coming over from BC. So I actually think Green Bay is in a good spot. They get the Lions week 1, and where Lions are going to have their first game with a new play caller. And Green Bay is going to be at home. So I think they can get a win early and start rolling. So, I'll just say it now. I mean, my bet for this team is plus 260 to win the North. I actually kind of like Green Bay this year. I just think they bring guys back and they're kind of ready to go. They had a lot of things go wrong last year with injuries and, losing close games. I think it was, 4 of their 5 games they lost in the regular season were 1 score. So, all that being said, it is the one hesitation I have is this group of guys did also just get pounded by Philadelphia in the playoffs, but that doesn't look as bad looking back, especially because they had to go on the road. So, yeah, I like Green Bay a lot this year. So I'd take them to win the North.
Let's talk about the Packers, because as much attention as the Bears and Lions are getting, to me, this team has the fewest doubts in the NFC North. Jordan Love, 2 different versions last year. In 2023, he looked like a future star, but in 2024, something was off. Maybe it was the injury, maybe it was the mechanics, but regression was real. Started throwing off his back foot again. His interception rate doubled, and he finished 23rd in completion percentage, which was supposed to be one of his strengths coming out of college. Now, here's the thing with Love. Your prediction for the Packers basically comes down to which quarterback, like where do you have him ranked? You know what I mean? Is he middle of the pack, top 10 guy? If he's a top 10 guy, this team basically has it. Now, in terms, I'm going to give LaFleur credit because what he started doing toward the end of the season when Love started doing better is he gave him 3 plays when he came up to the line. And it was like, do one of these 3. So he wasn't like giving him full reign of the offense, but he was kind of like dwindling it down to do one of the 3. And that allowed them to still have structure, but still allowed Love to do what Love does best and a little bit of freelancing. I really think it was a smart adjustment. It kind of shows, excuse me, how smart LaFleur is.
Yeah. I mean, just sorry not to cut you up. I mean, like, I feel like he's so good at adjusting. Do you remember last year when Love got hurt and they come out with Willis and they're running like the wing T? Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
He does hunt for the deep ball a little bit light, a little bit like led the NFL percentage of throws 20 yards downfield. You know, in terms of fantasy, you know, that's why it's kind of boom or bust. You don't really know what you're going to get on a week-to-week play basis. You mentioned Mac Golden. He's a pure burner. He's basically going to be what Christian Watson was before Christian Watson had that knee injury.
Yeah.
And he fits in what Love wants to do. Get the ball out of his hands deep. In terms of the reliability guy, you got Jalen Reed. You got Romeo Dobbs. You got Devontae Wicks. But in my eyes, it's 3rd down and 9. Minute left. Need to get in field goal range. Who are you looking for?
No, and that's like the one problem with the offense is that like they've just got like solid guys, but they don't have a star.
Yeah,
that is the problem. Yeah,
chain mover. You know what I mean? Like in Detroit, you're throwing it to St. Brown. Minnesota, you're going to Jeffries. You know, DJ Moore has shown he can be that guy in his career for the Bears. But the thing with the Packers is they don't have that dude, and that's kind of like my worry point with them.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Tucker Kraft guy. Now, my thing is this. Josh Jacobs touched the ball a lot last year.
Yeah.
And, you know, you mentioned LaFleur changing. They were an inside zone team last year. And Jacobs struggled out the gate. They totally changed it and started running more power gap runs. And it worked out great. But you mentioned Banks, and this is the thing I don't understand. He comes from the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan zone blocking. You know what I mean? Is that necessarily like the right fit? You get a zone blocker to go in with a power gap. You move Jenkins to center. From what I read on Twitter, he's not too happy about the move. He's the best offensive lineman they got, and he's not happy.
Apparently, that's why they gave him such a big deal.
You know, Jacobs, 358 touches last year, and history has shown that after that type of workload, he's regressed. It happened in 2023. His 2022 explosion was huge. 2023 is shocked. Wouldn't shock me if it happened again. I am on under 1,050.5 rushing yards for Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
I also think Lloyd, who you mentioned was hurt, they used a high draft pick on him. I think he's going to see more usage. Yeah. Offensive line, I think they're probably a top 5 line in the league.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at their numbers last year, 5th in adjusted yards, 2nd in sacks allowed, 4th in run blocking, 3rd in pass blocking. Young group. You know, they drafted Melton the 2nd round. This is a top 5 offensive line. Defensive, you talked about Jeff Haley, worked magic last year, 500 fewer rushing yards allowed, half a yard less. 16 players with a sack, the most in the NFL. They dropped their pressure rate to 22%, which was 16th in the league, but they still had 45 sacks, the same as last year.
Yeah.
They only blitzed 70% of the plays, second fewest in the league. I think that's going to change this year. They need Van Ness, who's been a letdown, to kind of wake up a little bit. When you look at their secondary, obviously they lost to Alexander. They're going to play a lot more zone, a lot more cover 2, cover 3. They don't really have a lockdown guy, though. Who's going to cover Jefferson? Who's going to cover Brown? I expect the defense to be really good against the run, may struggle a little bit against the pass when they're facing those top-tier guys. Also, they gave up the 3rd most receptions to her running backs last year, something we can look to target early in DFS. At the end of the day, they stealed wins with Malik Willis last year. They're the youngest team in the NFL last year, still made the playoffs. Quarterback situation, a little murky. Jenkins isn't thrilled, changing the run game. But this coaching staff, as you mentioned it has shown the ability to adapt. It has the easiest schedule in the North. Full transparency, I'm down on everybody else. This is the team I have the least amount of questions about.
Yeah.
I got them at plus 270 to win the division.
Yeah.
So even though I am taking the under in Josh Jacobs, under 1,050.5 yards rushing, I'm still going to bet this team plus 270 to win.
Now I will say, that all being said, I do have one fade spot for them that I kind of picked out when looking at their schedule. Looking at Green Bay, they're at home Monday Night Football with the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles coming to town, and then 2 weeks later, they're at home noon game against Minnesota, divisional matchup. Sandwiched in between that is a Sunday noon game on the East Coast against the G-Men.
The Giants.
Just might look to fade them there. A little sandwich spot between especially if they beat Philadelphia on Monday. A little shorter week coming off that big win. I don't know. Just another spot to fade.
Packers. What week is that?
I think
dude, even I got it
13.
right here. And the projected line is 4.5, dude. Dude, absolutely. That's a great find by you. Absolutely great find. And also going to Mile High when they go Bears at home, out to Mile High,
and then
at Chicago.
At Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go Broncos.
Yeah. That's for our friend in the chat, Riley. Let's go ahead. Let's talk a little Minnesota Vikings. 28-1 to win the Super Bowl, plus 1350 to win the NFC, plus 350 to win the North. Over under 8.5. Pick them minus 110 both ways to make or miss the playoffs, my friend. What say you about the Fighting Kevin O'Connells?
All right. Well, obviously Minnesota last year, they had the great year. 14 wins, but had to play a road playoff game, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, the big thing with Minnesota is they let Sam Darnold walk, despite his 4,300 yards and 30 plus touchdowns. And they're going with JJ McCarthy for the year, who missed all of last year with an injury, and so it's essentially his rookie season. And I think it's an interest. It's not. They kind of had to do it. I think you spend the draft capital on that guy, and it was Darnold's first year doing something like that. So I see where they're coming from, but man, it's going to be really interesting because Kevin O'Connell loves to throw the football, and JJ McCarthy has never been asked to carry an offense and throw the football like 30 plus times consistently in his life. And so I think, you watch film of him in Michigan, he's got a live arm and he can move a little. But is his arm like elite in the NFL? I don't know. Does he have elite athleticism? Like probably not. And so I think that's one thing. But another is, at Florida or in Michigan, he threw the ball 30 plus times in his career, 6 times. And only 2 of those were 1-score games. So I just think that's one thing to kind of look out throughout the year is, Darnold was top 10 in the league in pass attempts last year. O'Connell's going to like to throw the ball a lot and get it to Jefferson and Addison and keep them happy, and Hawkinson. And Jones is is a better receiving back than running back. So, I mean, we'll see. I think, okay, wow, that's a strong opinion. But yes, I think it's a bold move. And this guy's, McCarthy's good, and he's a high pick, and he won at Michigan, but he's never really had to kind of throw it a bunch. And I'll also say, on the defensive side, they have Flores, and they were really good last year. But I think you've got they've won 8 1-score games. They're number 1 in turnovers on defense. I just think you're going to see some regression from this team. You're not going to see 4,300 yards and 34 touchdowns from J.J. McCarthy either. So I definitely see some regression for Minnesota. I know they won 14 this year, and their over-under is 8.5. So that kind of says what Vegas thinks of them.
Let's be clear. The Vikings are well coached. O'Connell, one of the best offensive minds in the league. This guy has made Sam Darnold and Joshua Dobbs relevant. But coaching can't outrun regression. You mentioned 1-score games. Let's look at it. 2022, 11-0 in 1-score games. The following season, 5-8. Last season, 9-1. I think we're going to see like 2023, 5-8 in 1-score games. But when we look at it over the past 3 years, that means they're 25-9 in 1-score games. That doesn't happen by accident, but it's also not sustainable. Historically, teams that have outperformed their Pythagorean win total by 2+ wins only hit the over their win total by 32% of the time. They had 10.56 Pythagorean wins last year. Regression is staring them in the face. Obviously, you mentioned J.J. McCarthy. Is he a full-time starter? Look, full transparency, I hate J.J. McCarthy. I don't think he is going to be good, but they're not going to ask him to do much. He's got a good offensive line surrounded by weapons. The big question is, can he make plays when it counts? Because at Michigan, he wasn't asked to carry the offense. He was a game manager. You mentioned 6 games where he threw the ball over 30 yards. In the NFL, you can't do that. That's only going to get you so far. He's replacing Sam Darnold, who surprisingly was one of the more aggressive deep ball passers last year, third in throws over 20+ yards that were TDs. The expectation is they'll sniff back to the Cousins, dink and dunk, play action, more quick throws, heavier tight end usage. Now, Josh McCown, who's renowned as one of the best quarterback coaches in the league, helped Sam Darnold get his career turned around. Is he going to be able to take J.J. McCarthy to that next step? Word out of camp is he's already has a strong relationship with T.J. Hawkinson, and he targeted Loveland a lot at Michigan. Offensive line, pretty good. Garsol's healthy again. Jackson, first-round rookie, will start at left guard. When you look, Kelly is the center. But now, look, Kelly was great at Indy, but after his kid died, he just never was the same, which I totally get. I totally understand. Now they brought in Jordan Mason. Is this going to be a timeshare with Aaron Jones? Because when we need to remember, the offense didn't look right when Jones was off the field last year.
Yeah.
But they did trade for Mason by accident. He was solid filling in for McCarthy, knows the scheme. I wouldn't be shocked if we slowly see toward the end of the season Mason cut into Jones's work, so they try to keep it a little bit fresh for a playoff push.
Yeah. I mean, would you be even shocked if that's kind of the plan from the get-go? No, yeah. I mean, if that's just kind of,
I think
especially because Mason's not nearly the pass threat that Jones is. So they definitely want Jones in for like third down, especially with essentially a rookie quarterback.
And I mean, maybe that's the thing. Maybe they put Jones more third down packages and Mason gets more early down work. Obviously, Jefferson is the go-to guy here. Massive target share. O'Connell always finds a way to scheme him open. But the question mark is, who's the number 2? Jordan Addison, 10 TDs 2 years ago, 9 TDs last year, 133 catches the last 2 years, back-to-back. Nearly having back-to-back double-digit tight end season is impressive, but kind of a little bit of a red flag. I think regression is coming, especially with the rookie TV. And, he has some off-the-field issues going on. So wide receiver room, a little thin. I think Hawk is going to be the number 2 threat. He didn't catch a tight end last year, struggled to connect with Darnold, was 100% healthy. So if we're fading Addison, doesn't that mean we should look to take Hawkinson because someone else needs to catch the ball? He's going to be matched up against linebackers, maybe some first reads. McCarthy had a great rapport with Loveland, as I mentioned, at Michigan. He's going to be the security blanket. I think we're going to see more pass play action, more 11 personnel to kind of protect McCarthy. Flores is the X factor. Defense is chaotic, blitz heavy. They crowd the line of scrimmage, match in zone, then they drop to man, or vice versa. They'll fake 0 of a blitz, drop 8. You got Allen, Hargrove on the line, then they have Turner, Greenland, and Van Ginkel off the edge. It's a pretty solid pass.
Yeah.
The issue is the secondary. You have former Lion top 3 pick Jeff Aduka, Isaiah Rogers, who's bounced around the league. Not really good. Flores wants to play man, but the secondary isn't built for it. Safeties, you got Smith and Metcher. They can't cover guys man-to-man all season. That's when stuff starts to break down. End of the day, I took under 8.5. I think I got it at plus 135. O'Connell, great coach. McCarthy's in a good setup. Vikings are due for regression. 28th hardest schedule, coming off a huge overperformance in 1-possession games. Secondary is a liability. I'm not a McCarthy guy. I think Addison regresses. Unless this defense overchains again, they're hitting this under. I got under 8.5. Dude, I got it at plus 135, so that's a great number. I can't really argue.
That's great. Yeah, so I came in with the Vikings under 8.5 wins as well. And honestly, I mean, and you're never gonna root for this stuff, but he did get, he hurt. He was out all of last year with a knee injury, and it was just kind of off like a light hit in the first preseason game he played.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really get touched at Michigan because they had such a great offensive line, and he was, handing the ball off all the time. I think like one thing that could be questioned is like, is he? And he's not the biggest player either. He's kind of skinny. If anything, is he going to be durable for 17 games?
Is he going to be able to hold up?
I think that's like a very valid question. I mean, he literally got hurt in his first time playing on an NFL field.
And if you watched it, he really doesn't throw like when he throws out, he only goes to one side of the field.
He cannot throw left.
Can't throw left at all. So
can't throw left. And I don't think he's got like this live arm. I think when he can set his base and everything, then he can push it down the field. But is he even as talented as Sam Darnold?
I don't think so, man.
Like, seriously. Anyway.
Remember, there's all these rumors in the offseason that Harbaugh wanted to trade for McCarthy and send Herbert. I mean, like, dude.
It can't be true.
If that was true and the Vikings didn't do that.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah, needs to be fired.
And then I think the spot to fade the Minnesota's week 1 against my Bears. JJ McCarthy hasn't played a football game in 609 days. I counted.
Full transparency. I've bet one game week 1, and it was Bears to pick them.
Let's go.
That's
Johnson last year he put 31 on Flores both times. So
he's historically owned it. Next one, we're going to my Detroit Lions, Super Bowl plus 1050, NFC plus 480 to win the North, plus 131, over under 10.5. Make the playoffs minus 185 to miss, plus 155. What say you about the Detroit Lions?
All right. Well, I think there's a couple things with them, and I think it starts with, they definitely lost both coordinators. But I think like last year, like people forget that they had like their entire defense got hurt and that they had a good defense to start the year, and they really it fell apart by the end of the season. And so I think like getting all those guys back is going to be really huge for them. Hutchinson, McNeil, Anzalone, Barnes, Davenport, Davis, Houston, Rodriguez. I think I got them all, but that's who was all hurt last year. And so they're all coming back. So I think they're going to have an improved defense. And even if it's not the same, like high scoring offense that Ben Johnson was calling, I think, they'll be able to lean on the run game for sure. And if they can play good defense, maybe they're able, maybe they just have to mold the style of play they do and, kind of slow it down and not score as many points and lean on defense more. I think they'll still be a good offense, but we'll just have to see with, I think losing the coordinator could hurt, especially week 1 and early on. I will say one thing I noticed about the Lions, I think they have a brutal schedule. First 7 weeks, they've got the Packers, Ravens, Bengals, Chiefs, and Buccaneers, 4 playoff teams from last year. And the Bengals are never fun to play with Burrow and all his weapons. So, I think the Lions are still going to be good this year. I think it's still a playoff team, but I do think, we'll see if they're able to repeat what they did, the last 2 years in terms of dominance. But yeah, my bet I do like for them is Jahmyr Gibbs over 1,075.5 rushing yards. I think you're replacing a center and a guard on the offensive line. And so, I think those outside zone running plays are going to be more utilized with Gibbs. So I think he's going to get more burn. And then, Montgomery's getting older. He got hurt at the end of last year. We'll see. I think Gibbs is going to kind of turn into a more featured role. And so he had, 1,300 and something last year. So I think 1,075 he'll be fine with. So what say you?
Now, full transparency, dude. I have my Lions hat on. I have my, what is this? Driven Detroit t-shirt on. And this is going to pain me doing this breakdown, dude. This is going to pain me, buddy.
Okay. This
is going to really pain me doing this.
All right. I'm listening.
I know I got to find my notes, so I accidentally hit down. I'm a diehard fan, but I have to be honest what I'm seeing heading into 2025. The offseason, Detroit didn't lose depth. They lost 2 coordinators, 6 positional coaches. And while the front office has done a nice job of building culture, this much change can shake even the most stable foundation. Let's look at the offense. Everyone's talking about Ben Johnson leaving. Depending on who you ask, it's either no big deal or the offense is toast. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, but we can't ignore the facts here. That Johnson was the brain behind Jared Goff's success. Goff's numbers under Johnson were the best of his career. Now you got John Morton stepping in. And while he says he's going to keep things similar, here's a catch. Morton has never called plays or designed a full offense at this level. Huge red flag for me. We saw this 2 years ago with the Eagles. They brought in Hurts's dad's friend to be the offensive coordinator. Complete disaster. Now, Goff is going to have full freedom at the line of scrimmage. This might sound great, but do you remember why the Rams moved on from Jared Goff?
Yeah.
Because he couldn't do that.
Yeah, because McVay was telling him where to throw the ball.
And then, like when they tried to do freelance stuff,
he couldn't do it.
Struggled, and that's why they moved him. Now Morton is saying he's going to do the same thing. Now I'm not saying Morton will be a disaster. He could prove me wrong, but I'm very skeptical of first-time play callers handling the keys of the car to a quarterback who struggled when he goes off script. Now the offensive line has been the heart of this team. They've been elite, number 1 the last 2 seasons. Jonah Jackson left after last season, did a great job replacing him. But when you look at this season, they lost Frank the Tank, the best center in football, and Kevin Zeitler. End of the day, that's 40% of your offensive line gone. And they lost depth behind it. They drafted Mogeni, who has looked solid in limited snaps. They brought in Rethledge, a second rounder who wasn't expected to start right away, but now has to. The tackles are still strong. Gasco's a solid guard, but there's no depth. This line went from dominant to you're crossing their fingers and hope nobody gets hurt. And when you have a quarterback like Goff that struggles under pressure, having depth is big because there's going to be a huge drop if someone gets hurt. Now, obviously, Dan Campbell, what does he want to do? Grind the clock, control the game, protect leads. But the Lions regressing. David Montgomery, as you mentioned, hasn't played a full season in years. He's going to be 28. they're probably going to lean on Gibbs more, and maybe this is the year where he gets the full keys to the castle. Sam Laporta, he saw 37 fewer targets, 26 fewer receptions, and over 160 fewer yards down the stretch last season. Still a weapon, but I'm going to be honest, maybe we're going to see his production dip again. The main thing that was the thing with Johnson is everything was in the middle of the field with the tight end, Laporta, with the slot, Brown. He's gone. You know what I mean? How is that going to work? Another thing is Jamison Williams. He's not a polished route runner. Can Morin figure out how to unlock him? Or is he just going to be used as a straight deep line threat? I'm not confident he's going to be able to recreate the creativity of Ben Johnson. Defensively, Aaron Glenn is gone off the coach of the Jets. Now, the nice thing is they promoted Shepard to the defensive coordinator. I like him. He's been groomed for this role since he got here. He's been part of the Detroit philosophy. He's developed Campbell and Brian Branch, and he's in charge of weekly film sessions. I think they've been preparing him for this. Detroit plays more man coverage than everyone in the man. They've been torched, allowing the third, sixth, and second most passing yards in the NFL over the last season. You can't just live in man coverage without elite corners. I don't care how they are. Now, they did add Maddox and DJ Reed, which helps, but unless Shepard tweaks the scheme and gives these DBs some help, more zone, more disguise, I think it's going to be another yawn year. Up front, look, they got Hutch. They're pairing him with Marcus Davenport, DJ Reader, the rookie Williams. They got a real front. They're going to get pressure, but pressure only goes so far if your corners can't hold their own. And where does this leave us? It pains me to say this, and I really, really, really hope I'm wrong, Reed. I think Detroit is primed to take a step backwards. Last year was supposed to be this year. The year before, they could have got over this. They should have got to the Super Bowl. They can't get over the hump. They have the third hardest schedule, seven road games in outdoor stadiums compared to just 2 last year, with a QB with more ever on his plate. I bet the Lions at plus 160 not to make the playoffs, and I fucking hate myself for doing it. But I can't ignore the warning signs.
Yeah.
New DC, 2 losses on the offensive line, man-heavy defense with no elite quarters, a quarterback who might just be asked to do too much. And again, I hope I'm wrong. As a fan, nothing would make me happier than a deep playoff run. But as a sports bettor, I look for edges, and this is the edge to me. Like, they don't have what it takes.
Yeah.
To me, you know who they remind me of? They remind me of the Eagles team from 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And
then maybe they could figure it out when they relook at like a coordinator or something. Who knows? Maybe your guys, maybe Morton's fine, but yeah, I see what you mean.
But let's be honest. Let's say the defense looks good. If the offense struggles, okay. So if the offense struggles, and let's say they end up firing more, and the Giants fired DeBoll, and they bring in DeBoll to be the offensive coordinator, I'd fucking love that.
Be a home run.
You know what I mean? And we saw that happen in whatchamacallit. They got
Philly because Kellen Moore got canned.
They Kellen Moore and they brought Fangio, and boom, everything is fixed because they have the talent.
Yeah.
My question is the coaching.
Yeah.
Especially the offensive side of the ball.
And I kind of said it earlier, but the spot, and I used it for the last one, but I still think just because first-time play caller and all the change, week 1, I'd look to fade against Green Bay at Green Bay. Is Green Bay, I don't even know the line for that. Is Green Bay favored? I'd imagine they are.
I think they're going to be a small favor. If we look at it right now, let me pull this up, dude. Shit, dude. The Giants scored. Sorry, I'm invested. I'm invested in the Pirates. If we look at the Lions schedule real quick, just listen to the start of this. At Green Bay, home against the Bears, at Baltimore. It is a serious possibility that they could be 1-2 or 0-3 going against the Browns. Then after the Browns, you get Cincinnati on the road and Kansas City on the road.
It's brutal to start.
Then you get the Bucs on Monday Night Football at home. You should be able to win that. Then after it, Vikings, at Commanders, at Eagles, tough back-to-back road games.
I haven't heard one where it's like they're surely going to win other than the Browns.
And then Giants at home. Thursday night at home against the Packers for the Thanksgiving Day. Then another Thursday game hosting the Cowboys. At the Rams, Steelers at home, at the Vikings, at the Bears. I mean, there is a ton of back-to-back home games. To finish the season, you got 3 out of 4 on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, this is a brutal fucking schedule. Excuse me, for the Lions, dude. Just a brutal schedule. Reed, I would like to thank you for coming on. Before you come on, why don't you remind everyone what your bets are for the NFC North?
Yeah, for the Bears, we've got Roma Dunze over 850.5 yards. And I didn't get to it, but game to fade the Bears is Black Friday versus Philadelphia on the road. I just know the Bears, they're going to lose that one. And they have 3 games before that. I think they could win, so they'll probably be riding a winning streak and then just get slaughtered. I think it could be a laugher. So there's that.
Question for you. As a Bears fan, finish the sentence. Best case scenario of the season is. Best case realistic scenario for the season is.
Conference championship loss.
Worst case.
Week 1 injury to Caleb Williams. Because then you don't know. Then you can't even make a decision. So that would be the worst case. But other than that, like 6-11, like winning like one more game.
So like still being okay.
Still being bad.
Make sure to give that guy a follow at rbianucci12 on Twitter. He tweets about once every 8 months, so make sure to give him a follow. But he does know his stuff. He'll be on during the regular season as well. Pick his brain, do some betting stuff with him. Look, appreciate you always coming on to do this, and stay cool, man. It's hot as fuck out here, dude.
Thanks. Yeah, it's brutal.
So we'll talk soon, my friend.
All right. Thanks. We will.